So I'm often asked how to refit the hinge spring and the pin on the GHD models when you've worked on thousands of them. Of course, it doesn't even require thinking about, but customers who may not have ever opened one of these before do sometimes struggle getting them back together. So we'll take a look at the 3.1. This will also apply to the Mark III, the Pre MK3, and the Type 1 4.0s, 4.1s and 4.2s. And first of all, we are going to prise off the hinge caps, and just with a flat edge of some description, just slide it underneath the hinge cap like so, and just gently lever up, spin over, do the same, and that will leave you with two Phillips style heads. And what we normally do is with two stubby screwdrivers, we will go in from each side with the irons clamped between my knees and just undo them. Now, if you find they are incredibly tight, you can clamp a screwdriver into the bench vise if you've got one. So it would be like that, and then you can use another one on top and get a lot more force into it. Failing that, we would then do the same thing, clamp one in the vise, and with the weight of an impact driver attempt to turn it again. Often the extra force that the weight of that has will allow that to crack and come undone. And failing that, the last option is to hit it with a hammer, as the impact driver is supposed to be used with, and that will definitely get it undone. Just avoid rounding off the heads of these screws, so if it feels a bit tight, don't struggle and round it off, go straight to a better option like the impact driver. So with that undone slightly, you can undo the screw side, so you'll have a screw. There is a washer, and that leaves you with the hinge pin, and with a small screwdriver you can literally just poke that out like so. Put that to one side. Now this arm will now lift up and away, and that will leave you with the hinge spring in place. And if you grab that and just gently lift it out, you'll see that there are two prongs this end and a single prong that end. You may come across a variant like that. That's just a single prong at each end. One of them might have a longer piece here and a shorter piece at the other end. Hopefully you can see that. And that will just go in. With this, there will be a center nylon bush that also comes out at the same time when you're undoing these, so you might come across that variant. Anyway, once you've finished the work on these, you can just grab the spring. Two prongs go down and towards the switch, and just push it in like that. You want the hole lining up with the whole of the arms, or the hole through the arms. Like so. You can probably see right the way through that now, and at that point you will just bring the two arms together and squeeze together, and at this point, if you just hold here, you've got that spring tension back, so you know it's in the right place. Now if we look at that hole, you can see that it is no longer aligned correctly, so if we try and poke the pivot pin back through, it's not going to line up. So what you need to do is just loosen and wiggle this around a little bit till it does line up. If you can't get it to line up, with a small screwdriver, just put it into the hole and just move it around until it lines up, hopefully like that. And at that point you can put the hinge pin back in. Doesn't matter which way round it goes on this particular pair. Others it might do. The earlier versions had little plastic washers on here. So the next problem you will find is that it won't go through quite because the pivot pin isn't lining up with the hole on this side. you'll see a little bit protruding from the other side. So at this point, just put it down on there, just a slight bit of pressure going down, and grab the screwdriver again and just move that hinge pin until it lines up with the hole in the arm. You saw it drop down, and then it will look like that. Okay, so at this point the washer goes back on, the screw goes back in, and I will just nip this up a little bit. Don't push down too hard, otherwise you will push the pin out the other side and you might have to line everything up again. So just check operation, back between the knees, and just gently nip that up. Replacing the hinge caps, you'll notice pretty much on all of the irons apart from the earlier ones, 2 different length tabs on the hinge cover, and if you look, you've got a deep hole through the arm that you can see through at the bottom, and the top one is a shallow one. So the shorter goes to the shallow hole. Put the shallow one in first, and then possibly with your fingernail just press that tab in slightly, and it will go in and then push down and click into place. Same the other side, shorter tab into the shallow hole. You've got to press that tab in towards the irons and then down at the same time, and that's it. And that is how to undo the hinge pin and replace it on the 3.1, but it applies to the Mark III, the Pre MK3, the 4.0s, 4.1s, 4.2s, all of the Type 1 irons.